back then, especially a lot of those older guys, they didn't want you in this business. It didn't matter how good you were, what kind of background you had. They looked at it as, because nobody retired back then, and they looked at it as if you came into their business, you're trying to take their job. So not only did you have that working against you, that's why I laugh now at some of these younger guys. They would have never made it. They would have never made it. I mean, because back then you wasn't even allowed in that dressing room. So everything was believable back then. Everything. Of course, I was really getting into it at the time that the 2020 expose come up and all that. And I remember the guys would go out on TV and try to bust each other open the hard way just to prove to these fans that what was said on 2020 about wrestling being fake, it ain't fake. So I saw a lot of tough men go out there and just beat each other to death because that was their livelihood. And, you know, they did a clip of Dick Murdoch throwing probably the greatest punch thrower in the business. And they slowed it down to like real slow motion and showed how he missed the guy by that much. But I promise you, after they showed that on 2020, Dick Murdoch never missed nobody else after that. He made sure he connected after that. But that part of it I miss because it really goes back to if you wasn't tough and really kept your mouth shut, you didn't last. You didn't have to brag about what you could do, what you wouldn't do. You had to be a tough kid because those old guys just looked at it. You're taking money from me if I let you in this business, and a lot of times they didn't let it happen. Well, you know, my first day, I opened up a newspaper. You know, I'd always watch it on TV, and we all thought we could do it. You know, I was 17 years old, driving a truck, first little job I had. I opened up a newspaper and it just said three lines. It said, "Be a pro wrestler." I thought, man, it's pretty easy. So I go to the address, Gastonia, North Carolina, old rundown building, you know, broken glass, squeaking door, you know, like an old horror movie. I go in, there's a ring with a Samoan, a real old guy, and this old-timey woman, lady wrestler. I just go in, they ask me, "Can we help you?" Stupid, you know, me, young kid, said, "I want to be a wrestler." And of course they said, "Well, come on." I said, "Man, this is easier than I thought. Man, I hadn't had to pay nothing." And guys, I'm gonna tell you, when I got in that ring, they beat me to death for 2 hours. I mean, they ripped my clothes off, they broke my nose, chipped my tooth, laughed at me. Then the lady got a hold of me after that. She tied me in a knot, beat me to death, and I actually nosebleeding. I crawled out of that ring and I said, I hate pro wrestling. I'll never go back. And goofy me, I went back the next day and been going back ever since. And they taught me a valuable lesson. And I learned right then that, buddy, wrestling is not fake. I hate the word fake. If you did any other line of work besides pro wrestling, if you was at a job for 40 years like I have, people would respect that. But for some reason in pro wrestling, the first question out of anybody's mouth is that stuff fake? It used to be an old timer, and this was my favorite line. Wally Dusick, who was in the 40s and 50s and worked Luthez, he's passed away now, but he used to tell somebody, if you walked up to him and said, "Is wrestling fake?" He'd say, I'll answer you if you'll answer me. And they say, "Okay." He'd say, "Do you still beat your wife?" So so you can't like answer that. If you say, "No, I don't beat her," then did you used to? You know, if you say, "Well, yes, I still beat her," so you can't win. So I learned that over the years that if they ask me if it's fake, I just say, "Well, do you still beat your wife?" But the word fake I've always hated because everybody says, "Well, you know how to land." And that doesn't mean you don't feel it. And I've been knocked out by Ultimate Warrior, been hit by some of the toughest guys, Big Sid Vicious. There's nothing fake about what we do. You know, I look at it on the side of being a family guy, you know, with 5 children. I have missed so many birthdays, Thanksgiving, Christmas, because you had to go to work. And those lonely nights, of course, we've all heard it being on the road. I've experienced it. There's nothing fake about that. You know, and the kids, after a while, they want daddy home. The grandbabies are saying, "Where in the world's Papa? He's gone again." There's nothing fake about that. So I'm very defensive of that part.